Okay, I'm trying to see, I can see we've got, from the commissioners, we've got Elliot, Julie, Beth, Ken, Jamie, Susie. See if I can see any lowers, and Aleka. So
I have 7 so far: Mark, Elliot, Julie, Ken, Jamie, Susie, Aleka.
okay.
And Beth
Correct.
is
So
there.
there's a
Beth
quorum
Diane.
of seven commissioners present. There's a quorum.
Oh, I'm sorry. Beth is too present.
Yes, I'm present. Thank you.
Thank you, Beth.
Mhm.
So,
Okay, so we have a quorum. We'll call to order the Tuesday, May 12th meeting of the Evanston Preservation Commission. I think the first order of business is we have to suspend the rules for an in-person meeting and vote to have everyone participate on their computer or by telephone. Carlos or Scott, how should we vote on matters to indicate that everybody is in favor of something?
I think a voice vote would be appropriate for most items. And then if there are dissents, then we can go through in a little bit detail to figure out if it's not unanimous.
Okay, so would somebody like to make a motion to suspend the rules and allow electronic or phone participation?
I move that we suspend the rules and proceed with the meeting on an electronic basis.
A second?
Second.
Second by Elliot. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed?
Aye.
Any opposed? No, and no abstentions? Okay, so all were in favor. Before moving on, for participants other than commissioners, we'll ask that each applicant present, first of all, the representative of the applicant identify themselves and identify in what capacity they're speaking, and then please describe completely your application. I think you'll have to ask Scott to advance the pages of your application so you can get to the page you would like to describe the material. I think the commissioners have probably all reviewed the material, although I think in a lot of cases there's probably an explanation that's needed beyond the bare material. So the first, please bear with us, this is the first time we've done a meeting by Zoom, and I think we're still trying to get down the exact details of how we'll do this. So the first application was Old Business 1204 Sherman. My understanding is the applicants are preparing a new application or requesting a continuance of this item to our June 9 meeting. Would somebody...
Sarah, so the proper motion would be to withdraw the application until a new application is submitted, and that will require new notification.
Well, so if they're withdrawing the application, there's nothing we have to approve, is there?
Correct. Well, we're just withdrawing the application, and basically once they have a new application, we will re-notice as a new application. Yes.
Okay, so I don't think we have to continue. I think it's just withdrawn.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So then the first matter of business will be 318 Hamilton Street. It is, I think, Benjamin Harper.
Yeah, that would be me. I'm Benjamin Harper. Me and my wife moved into 318 Hamilton Street in October of 2019. It's a very cute, very nice home. However, there is not a lot has been done to it in a very long time. So specifically, the application that we're putting forward today, and this will be our last. You guys will probably become very, very fast and close, hopefully friends with me throughout the next couple of years. But specifically today, we're looking to replace, it is 7 total windows on our 3rd floor, but it is 2 sets of 3 and one single window. The single window is facing east, and that is in the bathroom. A set of 3 is facing west, and that is in the bedroom, and then another set of 3 is facing south, and that is also in the bedroom. The east facing and the west facing windows, we would like both of them to be aluminum clad double hung windows. They are currently wood windows. We are staying as close to the original size as we can possibly get with the manufacturer that we chose. And we don't plan to change the style of the windows outside of, I believe it is, we're adding a grid to the south window, I believe, is the one stylistic change that we plan to make. There are some slight variances to the sizes. Specifically, I think it's the west facing windows. They are 25.5 inches, 25.5 inches wide. And there are no windows in a catalog for that. So thankfully the trim is about 6 inches wide now, and it should be fairly easy for us. And we can do it tastefully to shrink the trim in between the windows and make the windows themselves just slightly larger. Also, like many others in the neighborhood, we were significantly affected by the hailstorm that took place about a month and a half ago, and we require a roof replacement. We currently have an asphalt roof, and we're looking at our options in terms of, we know the house originally had a cedar shake roof. So we're working with our contractor for the roof to figure out if a cedar shake roof is within our budget. So we're looking for permission to do that if it's within our budget. If not, then if it's not within our budget, we plan to replace in kind. So I think that sums up our application for today. And I apologize if our materials are potentially a little bit unconventional. And like I said, we're gonna be working with you guys for a long time, and we wanna make sure that we got you all the information that you need, and we wanna make sure it looks good. And that you guys are confident that the project will be successful and you'll be happy with the outcome. And another thing to note is currently the current windows, they all have, and you can see, they're very difficult to see the nice looking part of the window because they have very ugly storm windows on the outside, which, I mean, I was thankful for those storm windows during the hailstorm. None of them broke, thankfully. But you can't even currently see the grids in many of our windows because of the the storm windows that are in place. So that's another something else to keep in mind.
All right. I'm not sure I'm really going to see hands being raised. So I think it's probably going to be easiest just if the commissioners would ask questions in turn, and we'll try to see if it works without any kind of formal calling on people. So I'm sure there are questions from commissioners. Would anybody like to ask questions?
This is Commissioner Reinhold. I have a quick question. Ben, in your application, you have several different mutton grids shown. I think on the first window, you have it just as a straight fixed with no grid. And then on the east, I think you had a 4/4. And then on the last one, I guess it maybe is the south, you had a 2/2. I saw on your original drawings that you had some 2/2s down at the lower levels, but then you also had a much tighter grid on these, I believe, the second floor windows. Can you kind of talk us through why you changed the grid for the 3 different windows that you're proposing?
So let me get to my drawings here really quick. So for the east-facing window, it doesn't have a grid. We don't believe that was an original window to the house. And by adding the grid, I think it actually, it will increase the aesthetic. So yes, that's the east-facing window. It currently has no grid. We'd like to add a, and again, I apologize, I don't know the terminology very well yet, but it's a, the grid on the top and a single grid on the bottom. And again, I think that has more to do with just the simple aesthetic. We think it will look better and it will look more in line with the rest of our home. Let's see. The south-facing windows, it is one of the sets of 3. There is no grid in them now. And we would like to replace those with a single grid. And those are going to be casement windows. Right now, the windows, I don't know, they're either single hung or they simply don't open. And I know that they don't open because they are so old that if I tried to, they'd probably fall out of the house. I mean, we're literally getting water and air in our home from the age of these windows. So we started here for a reason. These are imperative to get changed. So again, I think these are going to be casement windows. I think that the grid will add to the aesthetic and will make it more uniform with many of the other windows in our home that almost all do have grids. Many of them have grids. The last one, the west-facing window. The ones that we have now have no trim, and the ones that we plan to put in have no grid, and the ones that we plan to put in also have no grid. And why specifically those don't have one, I'd have to speak with my wife on why she didn't specifically want that, but they will be, yeah, we're planning on just doing the aluminum clad double hung on those.
Other questions from commissioners?
Yeah, I have a question. Ben, let's see, I just did the windows that you're putting muttons or the grid, as you call it, in, are those grids, is it an SDL, meaning is the grid on the outside and the inside, or is it between 2 panes of glass?
I believe the grid is on the inside and the outside. I can confirm that for you, but I believe it is on both the inside and the outside.
All right. I guess my question was whether you have any materials about the roof, or, I mean, it sounds like the roof is just, kind of an unknown right now. I mean, it sounds to me like you're not really ready to present it, and I'm almost wondering if we could continue that aspect of it until you decide whether you're going to replace the roof in kind or be able to, actually make a presentation showing what you intend to do with the roof.
Okay. Yeah, that would be fine with me. Carlos, I think, had wanted to just get it on the table and make it an option should we decide to go that direction. I guess the other issue is there is damage to the roof, and it probably needs to be replaced when our contractor is able to do so. And so I think he felt there wasn't hurt in getting permission to replace our current asphalt roof with what the original design was, in the case that it did fall within our budget. So I think that was the logic behind it. Carlos could speak better to it as well.
So one of the things is if you end up doing a wood roof and it's going to be shingle or shake, so there's a difference between those. So a shake can be really like heavy and it looks like kind of I often think it's like a shaggy dog. It's really thick, and I don't know if that you want to be able to evaluate the shake and the shingle and
Sure.
what might be more appropriate. I
Sure.
don't and there's
Okay.
probably different costs associated with that. So
Yeah. Okay. So with that said, from what I've seen, I believe it wouldn't. I don't think it would be the really large, shaggy-looking shingles. I think it would be a pretty standard cedar wood shingle. I of course would confirm that before we went forward. But that's what I would like to present as a cedar shingle roof.
All right. Before we move to some kind of resolution, is there any member of the public who came to speak to this application? No. Okay. So do other commissioners feel that we could vote on the roof tonight, or that should be deferred?
I don't think I would have a problem with voting for a cedar shingle roof. I think that we could give them as an option if that fits in their budget. At least that would be my opinion. I think if it was an asphalt shingle or if it switched to a shake, we might want to see some more details related to that.
Sure.
but it's asphalt now, right?
It is currently asphalt. That's correct.
So if they were replacing in kind as asphalt, then
They don't need approval.
they don't really need approval, right? So it's just if they, right, they went to shingle.
Okay. Would someone like to make a motion to approve on that basis?
So Mark, our motion would just be that we would approve the cedar shingle replacement for the existing asphalt. Is that?
Yeah, if they decided to proceed with it.
Okay. I move to issue a certificate of appropriateness to 318 Hamilton Street for the replacement of 7 third-floor wood windows with aluminum clad wood windows, and the replacement of the asphalt shingle roof with a cedar shingle roof. Applicable standards include alteration 1 through 6 and 9.
Could we hear a second?
I'll second.
Beth, second. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, so the motion carries unanimously.
Excellent.
All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you so much for your time, guys. I don't know how this works. Do I need to stay for any reason?
No.
Okay.
If you have questions, you can contact Carlos.
I definitely will be in contact with our friend Carlos. Thank you so much, guys. I really appreciate everything. Have a good night.
You too. The next applicant, old business, was Mr. McGrath, returning for 242 Greenwood Street.
Yeah, hi, I'm Jeffrey McGrath. I'm representing 242 Greenwood Street. Hello, Jeffrey here with 242 Greenwood.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, perfect. So basically this was continued last session because you wanted to see some better pictures of the center window that's being replaced. So if you want to move to page 28, you can see the current center window. So that, yeah, next page. Page 28, please. Thank you. So this is the current center window that I have. In the top right, you can definitely see the big hole where the air is coming in and the glass is sliding out. Looking to replace the 2 sides and the middle window. The next slide will show the other side. So that's slide 30. So going to the next 3 slides, 31 through 33, that's the proposed window that will replace the picture window in the center. And then the next slides, 34 and 36, are the proposed side windows that should match up. And That's pretty much it. Looking to get the windows put in.
All right, so do we have questions from commissioners? No? Okay. Is there any member of the public who wishes to comment? No. Any discussion by commissioners? All right, why don't we hear if somebody could please move to approve.
All right, I will do it. I move to issue a certificate of appropriateness to 242 Greenwood Street for the replacement of 2 double-hung vinyl windows with internal divisions, with 2 double-hung fiberglass windows with internal divisions, and the replacement of 1 picture window with 1 fiberglass window with internal divisions. Applicable standards include alteration 1 through 6 and 9.
Second, please. Julie, second. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Yep. Okay. The application is approved.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you. The next matter is 945 Sheridan Road. I think I saw Mr. Setback's picture up, or?
Yeah, hi, this is David Sussler. I'm the homeowner, and Paul Setback is our contractor. He's here. Paul, you gotta take your mute off. We're gonna let Paul make the presentation.
Paul?
Yes, I'm here. Hi, it's Paul Setback. I'm the general contractor. Basically, we're talking about 3 areas of the house that we presented last time. There were some comments, and we tried to address the comments. So we can start with A3 that you got up there with the west elevation. So we revised there's 2 main issues last time we met. One was raising the columns, the masonry columns, to facilitate a code required height on the railings. So in this drawing, we left the columns as is and brought the rails inside the column. So we're not touching the masonry at all. We're just mounting the railings inside of it. So the plane of the railings will change slightly, but we won't have to address the masonry at all. The second part of this was adding doors to this roof deck. The original proposal left the existing windows in place, and we added a door on either side of the chimney. The biggest comment that we got on that was that there was not enough masonry left between the door and the chimney. This proposal eliminates the window, takes the windows out, and puts 2 equally sized units in there, one being a door and one being a window. The masonry to the chimney will change slightly by inches, not by feet. And in doing so, we added a mullion, which is pretty common to the rest of the house. And that's where the railing will be able to die into that mullion between the door and the window. So this way we could facilitate keeping the masonry the way it is.
Could
we're
you
proposing Marvin
direct us-
wood doors and windows. The cut sheets are there. So these sketches were other sketches that we came, other options if you didn't like what we've got here. We're thinking this is the best idea, but we added these to it. If anybody wants to comment on that.
Which is the one that you're proposing, the first one you showed us? With the door and the window?
Yes. That's,
This one.
that's on the drawing, yeah.
6, sketch 6.
No, yes, basic, well,
No, it's before that, A3.
right.
This one.
Okay,
So what you've got is the window and the door are now in the same size opening as the current window. It's just a narrower window and a narrower door. So you maintain the brick in the opening.
So is this scheme not any of those other 6 or 5 or whatever?
Correct. The others, you had asked us to consider multiple alternatives, and we did, and we included all of the sketches to show you that we looked at a lot of different alternatives, and we arrived at the one we're asking for presentation, for approval, which is A3, which again preserves the size of the opening and the visual virtually identical to the way it is now. It's just that half what is currently half the window becomes a door.
Okay, and which slide shows A3 that you're presenting?
54.
Number 54, Mark.
It's up now.
It's the one on the
Right.
screen right now.
Can you tell us a little bit? I can't see this rail. Like, what is this rail that the new rail that you're putting in? What is it made of, and what's it?
So what we're proposing is a composite rail and balusters, similar to what's there. I haven't been able to find an exact match to the wood balusters or railings. There is some balusters on here. Since this was presented, I found some other balusters that match better. If you look at the photographs, let's see. Number 79, it gives you the good idea of what the existing railings look like now. There 78 and 79 are good, both of them.
But those are really short right now because they don't meet code, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
So what I found is balusters that have 2 of these round balls in there for the height, but not 3. I haven't found anything with 3. I matched the width. Obviously, the new balusters will have to be closer together just to meet code. We can't put them this far apart. It'll be significantly more than 4 inches. I think it's around 7.5 right now, if I remember right. So they'll be closer together, but a similar profile. And
But they're
just
gonna
set back slightly behind these columns. So the line across here will be slightly back. Let's see if I can. My best guess, I didn't take the dimension. My best guess is about 10 inches inset behind a column.
Paul,
Yes.
when you're raising the railing, you're not raising, are you raising the brick piers as well?
No. The masonry stays as is. No change to the masonry.
You're going to be taller than the masonry?
Yes.
Then where do you make the turn? I don't, because right now you're centered on the pier in both.
Right, we'd be behind the pier.
So you're you're relocating the railing to being behind the pier.
Right.
What about when you're going towards the building?
So when you're going towards the building, the same thing. And you can see here on 78, all the way to the right, where it's kind of offset on to that pilaster, that we're going to move just to the side, which will align with the mold between the window and the door. So right here is where the door is being, the mullion would be right next to here, so the railing could die into it.
I'm trying to understand how the two railings meet each other.
In the corner, if you go back to the drawing, you'll see they meet in the corner, in the inside corner of that. Right here, stop there, 73. See how they're meeting in the corner?
All right. So they're actually being reset further in than they were before.
Correct. And that was to keep from messing with masonry and still be able to get the 36-inch height versus the 24 of the masonry.
So you're holding the outside edge of the existing windows to where they are, and you're widening the opening as you get closer to the chimney. Is that right?
No, so the opening is actually equal size openings. So the existing window opening becomes smaller to make the door and the window the same dimension width-wise, and maintain the masonry between the fireplace and the new door.
So are you saying that the new window plus the new door are equal to the old window?
No, they're not. No, we are creating a new masonry opening.
That's what I was asking.
So if you want to go back to 78, that probably shows it the best. So right here is where you can see how the window goes past the pilaster. So we're gonna take this masonry, put a door there, and then put the window next to it, equal width.
Paul, if I can jump in, it's my understanding the width of the opening remains the same. The masonry that will be removed would be a little bit of the masonry below the window to accommodate the door. But
No, it's both the width and the height will both change, because currently the window, I don't remember exact size of the window. I believe the opening's around 42 inches. Now we're talking about an opening about 36 inches. So we're taking 6 inches of that window opening and adding that to the opening in the door to keep from removing as much masonry. And we went with the narrowest door we could go with for Marvin.
I think it shows up on A3 if you can go back to that one. Because that's the only one that you're showing the scheme you're asking about.
Right, yes.
Wherever that is. There you can see that you're moving inward towards the chimney on both sides.
Mm-hmm.
So what you've done is you've centered the mullion on the railing.
Correct.
The window is whatever is left over to the right or the left, and the door is whatever you're taking out of masonry. And then I gather you're rebuilding the lintel.
Say, I didn't hear that, sorry.
You're having to rebuild the lintel above it.
Yes, it'll be a new lintel, yes.
So how big is that door?
Hold on. Tell you 1 second. It is the overall door, the overall opening is 36 and 9/16. The door itself is 32.
So I personally am not opposed to having a window and a door adjacent to it. I think that the development of the handrail you understand that handrail has to die into the mull between the two, so it's going to set up the sizes of each of them, but it's just not like the railing isn't really developed enough. In terms of, well, you match something, but it's taller. So that's the one piece for me that's pretty vague. And how does all of that nicely die into the mull between the two? I know that's the intent, but it isn't really clearly developed here. So that's just it. My issue is with really the railing.
So hold on.
I think, Julie, you're raising all sorts of interesting questions about that condition. Because you've got a sill under the window that's going to be a little wider than the opening. And where does that meet the railing and the mullion, which really becomes the frame of the door all the way to the floor? There's all kinds of funny details going on there.
The limestone sill for the window will be above the railing.
Well, it's just a question of where does the railing, when the railing meets the mullion, because your limestone sill is extending past the edge of the window and it's part of the mullion.
You know what?
No, the limestone sill will be above the railing.
You know what? I think I personally would need a better, clearly delineated drawing showing what the railing is, what the balusters are, and how that is all going to die against the door and the window, which I'm fine with, but it's just not clear. That's why we're asking all these questions about what really happens. The plan is very diagrammatic, as is just the drawing with the railing. So I don't really know how their commissioners feel, but I would just ask that drawing be more clearly delineated, maybe at a larger scale, and that you know what pieces you're going to use and you know what that handrail is going to look like, so it can all neatly die into the mullion and the sill can stop so that it doesn't hit the rail. And that's why it's just not quite believable as drawn.
Excuse me, can I interject here a second? I'm Bob Speckman, the architect. If you go on sheet A4, there is a detail that you're talking about. It's the middle one there. The intermediate, detail 5, identifies the mullion, the rail, the existing masonry pilaster, which we're actually using as a guide point, the back side of it, to determine the openings and the width of them. And
Okay.
then you've got the door on the lower part and the window on the upper part.
Okay, you know what, is there somebody, I mean, I'm looking at this, it's just, I see that detail, which I didn't see before, so thank you for pointing that out. It's just a little hard to see it on the screen. I see the mullion, but
We see you now. We'll have Mark get back to it. Are you trying to zoom in on it? I think Scott is trying to zoom in on it.
I think it was the other detail.
Yeah, if you can move up
Yeah, you're gonna have
just
to
a little bit, about the middle of the sheet.
keep going.
Keep going,
This you,
keep
Scott?
going. There you are.
Okay, got it.
Detail number 5, intermediate.
Okay, I see.
See, we've got the
Yeah, I see.
the stone cap on the masonry pier, and we're using the back side of that masonry pier as our working point to establish all of the relationships
Okay,
that are associated with that new guardrail with the balustrade and the mullion and the door and window.
Okay. All right. Do you want to move on to the work on the east side of the house?
Before we do that, I have a question. There were some in the packet. Let's see, pages like 68, 69, and 70. There were several sketches, study sketches for the railing. Which one of those was used for the sheet, for sheets A3 and A4? Which of the study sketches is actually being proposed?
It's sheets A3 and A4 that are being proposed, not the study sketches. The study sketches were submitted simply to let you see that we considered a multitude of potential designs, which is what you asked us to do last time.
So the ones that are in the study are discarded. They are not, none of those are
Those are
actually the ones.
informational. We're
Okay.
asking for approval of A3 and A4.
Yeah, okay.
So there isn't an enlarged view of the balustrade
Right.
of the railing, which I think is what you were asking. Isn't it?
Yeah, I was wondering if there was a larger view that we could see as well, included in the study sketches.
What are pages 85 and 86 of the packet? Those seem to show railing components. Is that what's being proposed?
No. So I found a better, after this was submitted, I was emailing and responding to a handful of different people on different products, and I found something that's closer dimensionally and shaped to what's there. Like I said, the one that is currently there has like 3 balls in it. The one I've got has 2 balls in it, and we can get it in the length we need it.
Well, if you go back to 85, I thought it said the height was
Right.
24 inches, which is clearly not enough.
Right. No, and I don't even know how this one got in the packet, to be honest with you, and neither did Bob. So I got a feeling somebody in my office gave this to Bob inadvertently, and that's what happened.
Okay, so we sort of know how the rail dies into the between the window and the door, but we really don't know what the balusters look like at this moment.
Right, but for a matter of time and keeping the project going, can we get the door and window approved and then follow up with the railing and balusters as far as a final approval of aesthetics?
I mean, we can consider that in the motion. Why don't you present the work to the east side of the house?
Okay, on the east side of the house, it's the sunroom on the main level of the house. And what we're proposing to do is replace the 2 existing doors and match those exactly, have them made to match what's there. Reuse the existing interior hardware. There is no exterior hardware currently. What you're seeing in the photograph is a storm door was on there when this was taken. We since removed the storm door, but I have a mill worker that's going to match these exactly. So everything will line up with the adjacent windows. All the muttons will be the same size. And it'll fit in the exact same opening.
Okay, and then there's a Butler pantry window.
Butler pantry window, currently it is just, obviously this was not an approved window. It's just a deadlight, just a carpenter built frame with a single pane of glass that's fixed. So what we're proposing is to put a new Marvin wood window in its place. So it's more replica of what's currently there. And I'm sure you're very familiar with Marvin's wood windows and the details to match. They're capable of pretty much matching these almost exactly.
Okay, and just to refresh our recollection, which slide is that?
I'm sorry?
Which slide is that, just so we can refresh our recollection of what that window was?
There.
That one?
Yeah, it's that one underneath, isn't it?
No, so that window you approved last meeting
Right,
as an escape window.
right.
So I'm looking to see.
You go to drawing A4 or A4, you can see it on the architectural drawing.
It doesn't look like we've got it in a photograph.
I don't think so.
I mean, if I could upload something, I could give it to you.
There it is. It's the middle window on the first floor.
Mhm.
Is there a pointer? Which window?
Yeah, this one right here.
Right there.
One with the hand on it.
Got it. You're just putting it in the same opening?
Yes, same size opening. Matching the same trim on the exterior.
Okay, are there any other questions? Is there any public comment on this matter?
There's one more thing on this elevation, just so I don't miss something. The two twin units above on the third floor, those are also being replaced with Marvin wood windows to match in their existing opening.
Oh, the third floor east.
It's still on
Oh, yeah,
A4
third floor east window.
in the gable wall. There's two sets of twin windows.
Are all of the second floor windows original?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it looks like it. They're falling apart, so they've been there a very, very long time. If they weren't original, they've been there a long time.
Okay. And the new ones that you're proposing then, can you describe the muntins? Are they interior? Are they applied outside?
Inside, outside.
But it's a thermopane, SDL.
Yes.
I have a question of Mark, Commissioner Simon.
Yes.
If we vote to approve this and we want to hold off because we don't really know what the railing is going to look like, is there a way that they can just, instead of waiting for this rail like another month or something, can they do it in a different way? Like have some people comment on it or some commissioners comment on it as opposed to waiting a whole month to show the balusters?
Yeah, that did sound like where we were heading. We've done that before where the applicant would have to get the greater detail back to Carlos, who would then contact one or two commissioners to make sure they were okay with it before approving.
And that could be done.
We've done that before.
Okay.
Can I ask a question while we're on that railing thing? I think it was in your 80s. You had a bunch of photos, and one of them was looking at the balusters from the inside. It was one of your photos. You zipped past it, and I hadn't realized. Right there.
There.
Okay, so I just want to make it clear so we're all on the same page. From what you're saying, and I have no way to point, the new railing will fit into that little niche right there that somebody's waving around right now, whoever that is. Yes,
Correct.
They'll both both of them will be set in. I don't know what you're doing to the roof, but I saw that you're using some sort of deck board in one of the drawings, and then you're coming in with both of them. And then I guess you have to just patch the masonry. So the two rails are basically moving in, and they're not in the same plane as they were. Okay.
And then are you rebuilding the deck, the roof deck, because you're going to have a new, the rails can't be mounted the way they are. So will that be rebuilt?
Well, we're gonna re-roof it and then
Uh-huh.
just put a deck over the roof so you can walk on it,
Well,
just flat.
but I think Julie's question is those aren't going to clear span from one end to the other, which means somewhere you're going to be supporting those balusters.
Oh, yes, yes. So if you go back to the drawing, yes. The span is too large to put one railing, so we've got one post in the center on A3.
So if we ask you to come back, then what it would be good to see is not just the baluster, but like actually a larger elevation of that, the length of the rail with the center post, which is gonna have to be supported. And it's right. So I think just as long as you're not just gonna come back and say, here's like a single baluster and this is what we're gonna do, I would say you really should have the elevation of the railing.
Sounds reasonable.
Okay. Julie, do you want to make a motion? I mean, I think the motion should expressly reserve the right to have an approval by two commissioners.
All right. So I make a motion for 945 Sheridan Road to issue a certificate of appropriateness for the following. On the west, to create 2 new openings in the existing masonry wall and install, I don't think this is.
No, it's got to be changed.
And install a window and door pair on symmetrically on either side of the fireplace, and remove and replace the balustrade. And on the east, replace the east facade, replace the east sunroom doors and 3rd floor east windows, and remove the non-original single pane Butler pantry window and replace it with a double hung window to match the existing double hung windows on the house. And we would ask that the design of the west facade elevation of the baluster and the individual balusters and the supports be tabled for this, I'm not sure, let's see, for this vote, but submitted to Carlos for approval by the vote of 2 commissioners. Does that sound fair?
Sounds sufficient. I mean, I think we're approving it simply subject to approval of greater detail by 2 commissioners.
Fabulous.
So that's standards for alterations 1 through 6 through 9 and demolitions 1 through 6.
Okay.
Okay. Is somebody would like to second?
I'll second it.
Okay. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? No, all in favor. Okay. Thank you.
Thank
you very
you.
much.
Appreciate it.
Thank you,
Appreciate
people.
it. Okay.
Thanks for accommodating everything in this format.
Yes, very much. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Aye.
Okay, next we move on to new business. I think we have 2 different solar panel projects presented by Sunrun, the installer. The first one is 1212 Lakeshore Boulevard. It looks like Megan Hogan of Sunrun is speaking. Mr. Portis.
Hi, I'm here, but I think Chris from Sunrun is going to be doing most of the talking.
Okay, is Chris on the phone?
I believe so. Chris? I thought I saw him.
Hey, can y'all hear me okay?
Yeah, hey.
Hey, how are y'all? Sorry, I had to unmute myself here. Yeah, hi, I'm Chris Costello. I'm the Director of Operations for Sunrun in our central region and currently over our Illinois branch out of Des Plaines. So wanted to present to you the plans for a couple of solar installations that we would like approval on. The first one being Mr. Portis's home at 1212 Lakeshore Boulevard. So as we walk through the packet, you'll be able to see the design, also any specifications in terms of, the layout, the panels, and the racking system. And so what we're seeing here is the view from where Mr. Portis's panels will be placed on his home. He has a south-facing roof here, which is the most ideal azimuth to put a solar installation system on, as the south-facing roofs receive the most sunlight throughout the day and throughout the year. And so this is just showing graphically where those panels will go. As we scroll through, you will see that he's got a couple of different photos here to show from the street view what that will look like. And then I believe the next photo shows from looks to be some sort of green park area. And then this would show from the sidewalk, where you would actually, the panels are not visible as you get closer to the home. So the panels would be along the driveway side there, along that roof plane right above the driveway. The site plan there at the bottom right picture would be the configuration of the solar system. So he has a 12-panel solar system with our highest efficiency module, black on black, which will match the darker shingle color of his home. And there will be skirts along the bottom as well, so that the bottom two panels, the two arrays at the very bottom at the eave of the home, will have a skirt that will be there.
6 by 3 feet.
What is this?
That's the panel. That's their southern roof. Can you see?
Yeah.
I mean, do you see?
Yeah, Mr. Portis, I believe we can hear you, Mr. Portis.
Oh. So.
That's all right. No worries. No problem. So yeah, as we continue to scroll down, you should get into our actual design, the set of plans that we would use to construct. So this shows fire setbacks. The component along the back, the opposite wall, the north-facing wall, is where his electrical components will be. Those will be away from the street view as well. And we see fire setbacks and just other, the other architectural components of the home. The next set of documents are just the structural stamps. The PZ S&E is whom we use for that, just to validate that the roof structure for Mr. Portis's home will indeed support the weight of the solar system. And then here are the design plans that we would use, that we would request permit on. And you can see that they are stamped there by our structural engineers. The rest of the documents here is our mounting detail. So this shows how our racking system is actually mounted to the roof. I believe the next 2 to 3 slides will show that. We lag directly into each rafter, and the mounts are attached to those lags. The system sits anywhere from about 4 to 6 inches off the roof, no higher than a typical vent would be on a home. So we see the top detail and the side detail. This is just showing our links that connect the panels and keep them secure as they are mounted to the railless system. So this is a railless system. There is no rail on this home, so you will not see any aluminum or any aluminum products on this. This is a railless system that we have used here in Chicago exclusively since we came into the market 2 years ago. So I'd be glad to answer any questions that you all may have. And you can see here, this is the diagram that shows the railless component of it. You can see there are no rails in between. They're all mounted on these mounts. And then we have the links that we saw earlier that creates the structural integrity, also the bonding that occurs electrically so that we can make sure the system is properly bonded. So this is the diagram that shows that.
Okay, questions from the commissioners?
I didn't understand. What are those things that are fire? What were they called? Fire.
Yes, sir. Fire setbacks. So within the code, depending on the different roof diagrams, if we go back to, let's see, we can go back to slide, I think 105 shows this. Some of the homes will require a fire setback depending upon the current whatever residential code each AHJ or village is under. So you can see typically that's a 3-foot fire setback, and what that does is it allows the firefighters, if they were to ever get on the roof to access if there were a fire, it allows them the ability to walk and do what they need to do to extinguish that fire. Not typically something that the firefighters do anymore, but the fire setbacks are still part of code, and so we put those on the diagram if it is required.
Hi, can you talk about the color of all of the parts,
Sure.
of the fasteners, of the side of them, of the side of the actual panels? Just what are we going to be seeing, and is it all reflective, or what is it going to look like up there?
Sure, yes, ma'am. These are all black on black panels. So the side frame is black. The top of the panel is black. The undersides are white, but you will not see the underside of the panel. All of our mounting is black as well. So there is the flashing that goes down is black. So you would not see anything but a black on black that sits directly on top of his darker colored, grayish black shingles. We don't show it on this particular plan set, but we do install what's called a skirt right now. We've started installing that about 3 months ago. So you can see on this diagram at the very bottom where it says in array AR-01, so array 1.
Mm-hmm.
Those two panels will have a skirt up underneath them. And essentially that skirt covers the gap between the panel and the roof. And so it looks like one continuous module from the shingle course up through the panel. So that particular, so if you're looking at it from the view that Mr. Portis took from, I believe, the park area, you would actually not see any gap between the top of the panel and the roof. You would see that skirt, and that skirt sits on about a 25 to 30 degree angle, so that it looks very, very sleek look, and it is black as well. So there are no other components on the particular system that are colored or aluminum. It's all black on black.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions from commissioners?
I've got a general question. We were sent the draft, and I guess who was it, Julie and Aleka worked on? Is that correct?
Right.
Are those guidelines something that we should be considering tonight as we review this, or not really?
I mean, those guidelines have not been vetted at any stage yet. They're just a draft. So clearly that policy is, not in effect. It's obviously not been given to applicants yet since it's not approved yet. We'll be discussing it at the end of the meeting. But even so, there'll be steps still to be taken for approval by the city. I mean, particularly the extent Julia or Aleka through all the guidelines do have a number of criteria that might be applied to, help people install solar projects that are consistent with preservation standards. So, clearly to the extent that they or you have questions based on those, that would certainly be fair.
Well, I think, the applicants haven't seen them, but I think the one I was going to refer to, if I'm still on, things are happening on my screen here, had to do with the idea of what the, whether it was called photographs, 3D renderings, etc. We've typically seen some drawing that at least showed the proposed collectors, arrays, whatever, on the building itself. And in this case, all we're seeing are photographs of the building. There's none of those photographs which could have been overlaid with some kind of a drawing reflect what these panels will look like on the building.
I think if you look at the cut sheet of the panel, I think it's pretty clear. As Chris said, it's pure black. It's black on black. But if you take a peek at that cut sheet, I think it gives you a pretty good feel for it.
Which slide is that?
Keep going. It's the LG cut sheet.
Yeah.
From the manufacturer. What next one? Wait, where was it?
Yeah, it's up a couple. Yeah, it was up a couple.
Sorry,
actually.
It's back the other way.
Yeah.
I think it comes in with all the manufacturer's literature.
Yeah, there you go.
There it is.
I know it's not perfect, but as Chris said, it's a black panel on almost black roof, and that's part of what we wanted, was to make sure it was as invisible as possible. And I think that black panel does it, or as best as we could do it.
Yeah, so Elliot, I just want to say, since most, actually we'll talk about this later, but in terms of the development of what we were thinking of the requirements would be for drawings, I mean, except for that one drawing where you're actually seeing the panels on the roof, the others really have been met by this. But I want to say this about this particular house. The slope of this roof, if you've gone by it, is very shallow. So in terms of, understanding what you're going to see, it's not like the next project is very different that we'll look at, but this one, I think it's really minimizes the panels and what you're going to see because of the actual shape of the roof.
Yeah, my question was much more generic, and it wasn't. I don't want to insult Mr. Portis here and say it wasn't directed at you specifically, but I think it's just that as we look at this one, and then we're having one more tonight. How are we going to look at these, and what standards are we expecting in terms of what we have? And ironically, in the past, we have seen views of the roof, and or at least from the street, and what it would look like. And ironically, in this case, we don't. We get to see what your house looks like from the park and the street, but not necessarily what panels would look like.
I think you can, but I think that you could, in this instance, I think you can, with the panels, you can. But yes, that is, but these what we have written, they haven't been accepted yet. So it's not really pertinent at the moment.
That's fine.
Yeah. Okay. Was there any public comment on this application? Any more discussion by commissioners? No. All right. Would somebody like to make a motion to approve this project?
Yeah, I will.
Okay, thanks.
I move that we issue a certificate of appropriateness for 1212 Lakeshore Boulevard for the installation of 12 rooftop solar panels, an installation staggered as shown in the drawings and facing south with applicable standards for alteration 1 through 3, 5, 9, and 10.
Second?
Second.
Second, Susie. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? No. Okay, that motion carries unanimously.
Thank you very much. Really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Okay, so then Chris, you'll present 1934 Orrington.
Yes, sir, I will do. I'm not sure if Mr. Hercules is on here, but same presentation. This is a 15-panel system. This one is a little different design in that it has 2 different arrays, separated there. So we are looking at what our best ability to do a 3D rendering on this particular home. So this would show what this would look like from an aerial view. I believe the next photo shows what it would look like from the street view, with trying to put those panels on there in a 3D view. This roof type is much different. As the one commissioner stated earlier, this is a 45-degree pitch, and so a bit more visible in terms of what you see, even though this is a two-story larger home. As we scroll down through here, same information that we saw earlier in terms of structural engineering and structural stamps. Here we get into the design of this particular Mr. Hercules home, and you can see aerially here the 2 separate arrays. The electrical components on this house too are also on the north side of the home. They would be behind that offset there, so those would not be seen from the road. The biggest difference in this particular project, just to point out, is those 2 arrays do have to be connected in terms of stringing, and that is typically done via conduit. So a piece of conduit that runs between array number 1 and array number 2 to connect those so that we can string those back to the meter on the north side of the home. If we scroll down through, there will just be the continued set of plans, both the drawings and then our single line diagram. This is just different components of the system. This actually, the Itron meter is not there anymore. They are actually using an in-phase system, which does not require a meter. The meter is within the in-phase system. He does have a little bit different panel type. Here is a good rendering of our actual mounting system. That was not on the one prior in terms of Mr. Portis, but this is what it looks like. So you can see the black on black there. This does not show the skirt, however. So in our systems that are installed now, there is a skirt that covers up both the mount and that piece of flashing and runs from about a ½ inch off of the deck to the very top of the panel. But this is our mounting system that we use, and again, this is the railless mounting system, so there are no rail configurations on the home.
Okay, is that the end of the presentation?
It is, yes, sir.
Okay. Questions from commissioners?
So this is a different system from the previous house, and is that what you're saying? It's a different system?
It is the same system. They are using it. So Snap and Rack is the mounting system. So that system is the same. So that is our railless mounting system. They are using a different panel, however.
And how?
So their panel, sorry, go ahead.
No, sorry, tell me. Sorry, I interrupted.
Yeah, no, that's okay. If we scroll back up, I believe this will show the panels. Yeah, so these are LG panels, so just a different efficiency. I think we just passed them. If we scroll back down a couple more. Right there. Yep. So these are our Longi panels. I believe, I'm just looking at the efficiency on these are These are our 305. So these are the top end in terms of efficiency. So a bit different. These are still black on black. You can see the grid component on the top is different than what we saw on the other panel, however. But they are black on black frame. The only white component is the grid component on the top, and then obviously the back of the panel is completely white as well. But you would not see that.
And the roof is a brown roof, right? Brown asphalt. I think so. I think I have
yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes,
it
is. It is.
So
correct.
So did you? I mean, So the other one was easier. This one, if you have gone by the house, you know that the first array of panels, you will really see quite. You will see them because the house, as you walk down the street, that's the facade that is completely exposed as obliquely as you're walking down the street. So, and there was, if you only put them, there was no way that you could get the amount you needed behind that gable, right? Behind the gable facing south, trying to just pile it up on that side of the house facing south, so you didn't have them so close to the front facade.
Correct. Yes, ma'am. If you go to 125, this must be an old packet I'm looking at. Maybe 126, I believe. Maybe the next diagram down. No, I'm sorry. I've got the wrong numbers here. Here. Yes, ma'am. So you can see he has what looks to be a chimney there. And with the 3-foot fire setbacks, that's as close as we can go. And that chimney, we're not able to go any closer to that gable end. We don't want to get too close to the valley. We want to make sure that we stay away from that valley as much as possible, so that we don't, cause any water damage, potential water damage there. So that south-facing roof to the left of the gable there is maxed out in terms of the number of panels we can fit.
Looks like you're just about hitting the valley with one of those 9.
It does.
Drawing. And you're almost ready. I'd give up on the fire setback before I did what you're doing.
Right. So the
go ahead.
Yeah. So I was just going to say the edges of the panel, the edge of the panel hangs about 2 feet over the edge of the mount. So the actual penetration for that panel would not be in the valley. It would be about 2 feet left of the corner of that panel. Or sorry, 2 feet to the right of the corner of that panel.
The other question is, and you can see it on your panel because you've got this grid, which appears to be white when you're looking at the actual face of the panel. I mean, it's black.
Sure.
It's black photovoltaic cells or something with a white grid. There's no way does that have to be white? Because I realized that the same thing might have happened on the previous one, but as Julie said, the pitch was such that it probably wasn't as big an issue. But in this case, are we also going to be seeing this white grid as we look at this roof? I mean, if we go back to your drawing of the grid itself or the panel, I think everybody will understand what I was asking. I don't know if we number that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a fair question. And one that we discuss a good bit.
Yeah. Those are all white. When you show the mounting, it really shows up. I don't know where that
Sure.
is. Further down or further along. You showed the panel on the roof, and you can see those grid lines. I don't know which drawing that is. That further into your pack, I think.
2 pages down, 150.
Is it 150?
Yeah.
Somebody goes to 150. Can we go to 150, or I don't know who's controlling it.
Scott, can you?
Sorry, I missed that. Which slide?
150. 2 more down. Yeah, see, because this is a fairly flat installation, but you're up, as you said, at about 45 degrees. And are we going to be seeing all those
stripes?
Sure. Yeah. So this is so the panel that we're showing here on this particular mounting. It's not the Longy panel. This is an RAC panel, one that we do not install. But it is a fair question. What I can do, and you can see this one kind of has a bluish tint to it as well. The facing of it has a bluish tint. Our Longy panels have a black tint, so that's why I know that these are RACs. I also know these are RACs because Sunrun owns Snap and Rack, and they're also advertising our RAC panel here. But we do have a Longy, the Longy panel that they use is a black frame, which it's not a bluish tint that this particular photo shows. What I can do is I can actually, and probably should have done this to present in this packet, is I can actually go and take a photo of one of our Longy panels in our warehouse. And send that over to you so that you will actually see what those white grid lines would look like. I know the drawing or the rendering on the spec sheet for the Longy panels looks a bit distorted. So be glad to take a picture of what that Longy panel looks like, actually out and sitting up in our warehouse, if that would give you a better indication of what you would see. Because you are correct with the 45-degree pitch roof. You will see the facing of this panel much more than you would have on Mr. Porter's home.
Right. And this is in addition to the fact that we're talking about the brown roof and the black panels and all the rest.
Yeah, I would say though, I mean, Elliot, I don't know if you went and saw the house. It sounds like Julie did. Yeah. I mean, it's not on a facade that faces the street, and it's very elevated. So, I mean, if you're in exactly the right place, you can definitely see the panels. But for the most part, if you walk by this house, you might not see the panels at all. I mean, it's not.
I don't think that's true, Mark. I mean, I went by it. I took a picture. You can totally see that whole roof is exposed. You're just like, you just can see it. I have a question. I just have this question. Okay, when you're looking at solar panels here, and it looks like do you look at there's a big yard and there's southern, I don't know, was there any discussion about having some of those panels just mounted in the yard? And like leaving panels on the roof behind the gable and not having them on having the 5 on the side of the, the exposed side of the roof, but trying to move them to the yard?
We in the yard would create a lot of shading issues. So ground mount systems are best utilized in open fields where there's not a lot of shading. So if we were to install a ground mount system on this particular property, it would have to be pretty large in order to offset the shading that would take place, both from the home and the trees and the shrubbery, around the home. So a ground mount system, would not work in this scenario. We typically would only install those in very large open spaces so that we do not have to deal with the shading component, which would greatly reduces the offset.
Ask a similar question, kind of related about other locations. I know that this roof in particular is a significant slope, but like what percentage decrease in efficiency do you have if, say, you were going to install either on the north facing roof or like the west facing side of those gables on both the north and south side? Like, were those considered, and what are the pros and cons there?
Sure. So the slope of the roof or the pitch of the roof does not have this a great deal of impact in terms of loss of efficiency. The loss of efficiency on this particular home would come from the north facing roof. So that is the least favorable roof in terms of daylight hours throughout the year. And so in order to offset the amount of efficiency that would be lost, you would have to have a much larger array, that would actually probably cover the majority of that north-facing roof. And so, at that point, you start to get into a cost component for sure from the customer's perspective, but it would be, you'd still see a much larger array on that one side, and you would actually still have to jump over and probably have one of these two arrays on the south-facing side as well. So you would be seeing, panels on both the north and the south. I don't know the number of panels. We would have to run that back through our designers, but that's typically why if we have a very south-facing roof like this home is, it's more ideal and better suited because it's a much smaller system, even though there's not a lot of roof space on the south-facing roof.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Thanks. That's helpful.
And similar to that question, did they look at, or would it be possible to maybe just take the easternmost 3 panels, basically so it's a little further back from the front facade, and put those, maybe on the west side of that gable, or how much efficiency is lost if one row on the furthest east was placed somewhere else, so that it's a little bit more held back from the front facade and a little bit more behind that turret kind of.
Sure. Could we go to, I believe it's maybe 125 that shows our aerial, sorry, maybe a couple more down maybe. Here we go. I think here's where the fire setbacks, I believe, would come into play. I believe you're talking about the 3 in array number 2 there, the 3 panels that are landscape view all the way toward the east rake wall or east rake roof. Is that correct? Okay. Correct. Yes, ma'am. So the fire setback would not allow us to install those panels directly behind that gable. We would also likely run into shading issues if we were to do that from the chimney. That would lose some efficiency, throughout a certain component of the day when the sun was, casting a shade over that chimney. So the fire setbacks would not allow us to move, the design for those 3 panels.
So is there, I guess, what is the drop in efficiency of the system, or if you move them someplace else, or if you
Sure.
take off those 3 panels, is that too significant of a drop to make doing this worth?
Likely. So this particular system is right at a 5 kW system, 4.5, which is about 51% of their estimated usage. So that's about what the offset would be. Losing those 3 panels would drop this probably to somewhere around a 3.5 kW, 3.4 kW system. I don't know what that would do in terms of their offset. My guess would be it would drop them maybe around to 35 to 40% offset versus the 50%. We'd have to kind of run that back through our design team to do that, and also see if there's what we could do on the north-facing roof over there to bring that efficiency back up.
I'm sorry. Does Evanston have the fire setback requirement?
They do, yes, sir. So
okay.
I don't know what if it's the International Building Code, if it's 2000, which year they're doing, but this would be, we have for all the villages and AHJs, we know which ones that they that they have voted for, and so that's why that the requirement is there.
And my other question is, you mentioned the conduit connecting the 2 arrays.
Yeah.
What does that look like, and where would that be?
Sure. So array 1 here, it would be, you see the chimney. It would go from it'd be right above that chimney, and it would go horizontally from that top panel over to array 2, that first landscape panel that is the second above the gable end.
So they kind of following that fire line, like the bottom
correct.
of the fire
yes,
line?
ma'am. That's correct. Yes, ma'am.
Are we just talking about a piece of 3/4 inch conduit or something much larger?
No, sir. This would be this would likely be 3/4 inch that would connect those two panels, those two arrays.
Can we go back to the rendering of the house, or the image of the house? Yeah. So I have if you mounted, I think there were 3 panels, and if you started with the ridge of the gable, the second gable on the south, and you ended up with 3, so they were more buried between the secondary gable and the little mass with the little mansard roof in the front. And then you'd have, I think, 4 panels that you'd have to figure out to put somewhere else. Is that something that you can look at for us? Because I think you can hear the questions about the issues of how these are mounted and the effect they have, in terms of what they're going to look like. So we're just trying to figure out, is there something that, well, maybe it's not 50%, but it's, 40%, where you have some on the north, plus you still have some, maybe 3 on this facade, but they're sort of hidden by the 2 masses of the gable and the mansard. And I think that's what we're asking you to look at, or some of us are, obviously we'll take a vote.
Yeah, sure. And if you don't mind, if we can just go back to our design, just so if we do need to go back and redesign this, I just want to make sure that redesigning with the with the right panel. So you're wanting to limit the amount of panels kind of directly behind that Mansford roof there, and maybe move those 3. So delete those 3, pull them back from the rake of that roof. And
I was saying the opposite. I was saying those 3 that actually, sorry, because I'm not there and I could use my fingers, but you never know what
sure.
It's like I'm like over here. But there's sort of a T shape, right? Of the bottom 3. There's 4 panels. The bottom 4 panels, it's a T shape, right? Okay.
Gotcha.
So if you kept those, because they're sort of hidden by the gable on the left and that little mansard, and the ones above that, which are like 1, 2, 3, are there 5 above it? I can't tell. 5?
Correct.
5.
Yep.
And then you left those 4, and you put those 5 maybe looked at putting those like on the north side towards I think the ones that are sort of lower down and hidden by those 2 masses might be less obtrusive, but.
Or, I think, or some combination trying to, looking into seeing if there's anything that would make it a little less obtrusive towards, the top and front facade, but still allow the homeowner to get, the effectiveness they need. If you can move just a couple of those panels, whatever your analysis shows might be, something that would still be workable. I'm just curious to see if there's any way that it could be done to hold it back a little bit further down.
Yeah, we can. Right. We can look at that. Just looking at the diagram, if we were to move those top kind of 5 panels there, it looks like the only configuration that would work on that north-facing roof would be directly opposite of array 1, and so that would likely be about 6 panels that we could fit in that same. That's correct. In that same layout that is on the south-facing roof, we could possibly fit 6. My guess is going to be, just because this is a north-facing roof, even though that is 1 more panel, they would likely lose, efficiency on that. But we can certainly go back and, run that diagram and see where they come out from an efficiency standpoint.
Okay, well, why don't we give you the opportunity to, to consider a few different alternatives and decide what you think might be a reasonable compromise. I don't think we asked if there was any public comment on this matter. No, okay. All right, well, I think we've probably discussed it and given you ideas, and I think that, again, we haven't voted, we don't know what every commissioner wants, but it does sound like some degree of reduction of the obtrusiveness of the panels would help several of the commissioners. So could we get, go ahead, Elliot, I'm sorry.
Okay, I'm sorry, yeah. This is, we're right back to where we were with the one that, whatever the address was, where we were overridden 6 months
Elliot,
ago.
I'm having trouble hearing you. Is anyone else having trouble hearing? Is it
I
just
can
me?
hear him.
Okay, sorry.
I was, well, I think that the issue is that back, 6 months ago or 8 months ago, we went through this about trying to deal with the efficiency on, what was that, Hinman? Whatever.
Yeah.
And, and it became an issue of, we could have, some of the things that we were objecting to would have been dealt with by things like put them on the north, put them on the garage, and so on and so forth. And I remember asking about the loss of efficiency, and here we're doing it again. And I'm not sure that, we're talking about the efficiency of the system, and that means that it's no longer cost effective, or it's more, or whatever else, which is exactly where we ended up, and then we're overridden as a consequence, because they didn't want to lose their efficiency and their optimum system.
Well,
So
I don't think we're
waiting for this time.
Well, I don't think we're necessarily saying no yet. We're just asking the question of, is there a compromise? Could he just look a little bit further into whether there's something that could, so that we can kind of weigh.
I only say this because I remember asking very deliberately, what if it's only going to deal with 80% of the required power versus 100, and they just essentially said they're not going to lose the efficiency.
Right.
He told us that.
So,
I think the owner isn't here, so we're, I think he's at a disadvantage as well.
well, I think one of the things, Elliot, and this is that this committee, and obviously these things aren't published yet, the guidelines, but there was a committee that met that really came out of that particular project, and we were instructed to write guidelines, and so I think the questions that we're asking are fair to look at this, and I think when when our meeting is done and we get to talk about these guidelines further, I think they sort of address some of the issues that occurred with that project. So,
Elliot, if you looked at the the draft report, I mean, I think it emphasized trying to respect both preservation concerns and sustainability concerns. And I thought both Julie's and Aleka's comments tonight were very much trying to find a way to make some improvements in that light and move the project forward. I don't think they were meant to, in any way put a kibosh on the project.
Well, I don't think I'm trying to do that, but I'm concerned that, putting them on the north. I mean, I think Aleka initially was even talking about, I think west side of those gables would have worked better than north side of the building.
well, why don't we see what they come up with, because that's what we've asked. So.
Yeah, I mean, I don't pretend to be.
Come back, it's fine.
I don't pretend to be, to know. That's just, those are the questions I'm asking, for just a little more information on,
placement.
And placement, and if that, and what that does to the project, and if there's some compromise, and, And then when they do look into it and come back from the information, then we can make an educated decision and know we've looked into all possibilities. That's all I'm asking. I'm by no means putting a kibosh on it.
We haven't asked them for a brown panel yet.
Okay.
Yeah, like,
Why don't we move this on so we can leave time
Okay.
at the end to discuss the guidelines. Would somebody like to make a motion to continue this matter to our next meeting?
Yeah, is that all right with the applicant, or he's not here? Or we don't have any choice?
Yeah, I don't believe Mr. Hercules is on. Obviously, I talked with him earlier today. I mean, he would certainly like to move forward as quickly as possible, but understanding, your all's assessment, we can certainly go back and see what the most ideal way is, and I will, make sure that when I talk with the designers, make sure that we also look at the renewable component, but also the preservation, what you all are trying to do as well. So we will certainly trying to come to a compromise and see if we can come back with a reasonable solution for all of us.
Great, thank you.
And I think your idea, sir, of the photo of the array.
Yes,
also
will be
absolutely.
helpful. Yeah.
Correct. Yep. And I wrote that down. I will definitely take an actual photo and make sure that is in the next packet that we submit.
Thank you.
Chris, does it do any good to go portrait on the panels that you had landscape at the front of the house? Or it wouldn't have made any difference?
They're likely in the orientation they're likely in the orientation that where we can fit the most panels. I'd have to go back, design would have to make that decision, but we're going to put them in an orientation where we can fit the most in that particular orientation.
And is there something in the attic that prevents you from sticking the conduit down and then coming back up?
So that's a great question. We actually looked at that earlier today before this. So there is potential that conduit could go in the attic space. The homeowner does have attic space in there. We would have to do that. We would have to know once we got to the home to go in there and see. But in our site survey photos, we do see attic space there. So absolutely, if we could do an interior conduit run, then we would do that on this home to preserve the preservation component. And in that case, then you would not see any conduit connecting the two arrays.
I didn't know if it was a finished attic or not. That's why.
Yeah, so it is finished. It is finished in most, but it's such a steep pitch that behind some of his closet space, there is an attic component to it.
Okay, great. All right, Aleka, would you like to make a motion to continue? You're muted.
I think she's been muted.
Oh, you can't unmute yourself? No? Scott, are you able to unmute Aleka?
Okay.
Oh, she's unmuted.
I'm
there she is.
unmuted, but I don't remember the address. I moved to continue this project to the next meeting.
1934 Orrington.
I moved to continue 1934 Orrington to
June
the
9th.
June 9th meeting.
Second?
Second.
Second, Elliot. All in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, thank you very much for working with us, Mr. Costello.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank
you.
y'all. We appreciate it. Yep. Y'all have a good evening.
The next project is 1145 Sheridan Road.
Yes, hello. This is Glenn Heidbreder Building. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I'm here representing Burke and Bridget Montgomery for 1145 Sheridan Road. We are looking at a more traditional way to achieve energy efficiency rather than the solar panels. We're looking to replace 7 windows in 5 openings along Hamilton Street. And we want to install some new Marvin windows, which would be high efficiency, high performance, to replace the leaky wood windows that exist currently. Yeah, right now the condition is, yeah, as you can see, the foyer windows and the dining room windows, the foyer, and then the one around to the side there is a foyer window also. The current condition is the windows are very drafty. We've come in and installed some interior plastic in the wintertime to try and stop the drafts. Even with the storm windows, there's still makes those two rooms pretty much unusable in the wintertime. The clients have indicated they really have to wear coats when they're in those rooms, and the dining room is really unusable with the current condition. What we're trying to achieve is, if you look at the dining room window on the second floor, the bedroom above it, we're going to try and achieve that same look on the foyer, the first floor foyer windows. And currently that foyer window, the triple that you see in that single opening, has two fixed panes of glass on either side of a double hung, and it's a single glazed unit. So we'd like to replicate what you see on the second floor by widening the center unit and narrowing the two side units that flank that, and install the same over, well, from the current box bay on the second floor. And you can see there's no muntins in these windows. The other issue is the existing windows have storm panels that go over them. And with the storm panels, you lose all the detailing of the window behind it. So if we are able to install an aluminum clad Marvin wood window, you will get the depth and the detailing of the window that I think will bring out the character of those windows. The windows are going to be custom made windows to replicate, what's there currently. As I'm sure you're aware, Marvin does a great job. It's the best window manufacturer that we know of, and they can make, custom designed windows to really give a lot of detail that I think, would make the original architects, Talmadge and Watson, very proud of what we're doing to try and maintain the historic nature of the home. Those are pictures of the proposed new windows. And we'll keep those lugs on the inside so they'll look historic, and the outside. The glazing sizes will be, the same as currently exists, so you won't lose any glass.
Is that the end of the presentation?
Yeah, I can open it up to questions. I mean, it's really, we're looking to replace 7 windows and in those 5 openings, and open it up to questions, I guess.
Okay, no questions?
Yeah, is the idea to provide storms as well, or just abandon those?
Ideally, I think it'd be better to abandon the storms. Then you see the depth of the windows, you see the detailing on the windows. Currently, those single panel storms, to me, it hides the detailing of the windows.
So this is an SDL clad thermopane window, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
High performance, high functionality.
Right. So there's no storms. Yeah.
No, we'd have half screens on those windows. And all of the windows would be operable double hungs.
Any other questions? Was there any public comment on this matter? Any further discussion by the commissioners? Okay, would somebody like to make a motion to approve these windows?
You're muting us.
Anybody?
I had a question, Mark, but
Go ahead.
I was muted. That's why I kept trying to ask and it was muted. My question was, these are only going to be on these 7 windows. So what happens going forward? The rest of them are still going to retain the storms?
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah, long-term intention, I believe, of the owners is to continue to replace windows around the house. You know, these are expensive.
Yeah, this is Burke. 7 windows are expensive and within our current budget. These are in the worst condition, and we're hoping to be here a long time and chip away at it.
Okay. I'll try the motion, Mark.
Okay, thank you.
I move that we issue a certificate of appropriateness for 1145 Sheridan Road to replace 7 of the windows, 5 double hung wood windows on the north facade, as well as 1 fixed unit, and also 1 window facing east, all with aluminum clad wood windows with simulated divided lights, using the same pattern as the existing in terms of the, let's call it the mutton spacing on all of the windows. Applicable standards, alteration 1 through 6, 9 and 10.
Okay, a second?
Could I just make a
Yeah,
clarification?
I'm sorry, yeah.
There are no fixed windows.
Right.
They're all operable. The current has 2 side fixed windows.
Yeah, you're
All of those.
replacing them all with double hungs.
Correct.
Yeah, it was just, that was the way the original application read. Sorry.
I think that just refers to what's being replaced, Elliot.
Yeah, I know, but it's one way or the other. So
Yeah.
I think they'll all be, I guess it should be that they'll all be replaced with aluminum clad wood with double hung windows, etc.
Okay.
I'm not going to repeat that again.
That's okay.
We'll let Carlos correct it.
All right. And I think you said standards for alteration 1 through 6, 9, and 10.
Yes, I did.
Second.
Second, Susie. All in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
This is Bridget Montgomery speaking real fast. I just want to thank you guys so much. We're fully prepared to have our first Thanksgiving without winter coats. So we sincerely appreciate this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Inviting us?
Come on. Yes, now we are.
We're going to have to distance ourselves, so I don't know how that's
Yeah.
The next matter is 1312 Church Street.
Yes.
Okay, sir, please proceed.
Good evening. Thank you for your time and consideration. We are applying for a certificate of appropriateness for a new roof. Background is the 1312 Church Street residence was built in 1896, and as you know, is in the Ridge Historical District, is a designated landmark. Currently, we have a cedar shingle roof, which was put on for the previous owner in 92 or 93. Prior to this, it was an asphalt shingle. We knew when we bought the house last summer that the roof was on its last legs, and so we are looking to replace it. We humbly asked to replace the current roof with a metal sandy seam roof instead of replacing with a cedar shingle. In understanding the goals of the Preservation Commission, our goals in the roof replacement is to maximize and balance, 1, providing the best structural roof for the house while preserving the historical architectural spirit of the house and having the smallest environmental impact. The current cedar shingle roof at this location is not ideal due to many factors. We have a lot of great, beautiful trees, but that, again, as you know, decreases the, it increases degradation of the roof because it cannot dry out as well. We do have Sunrise Tree Care contracted to take care of the trees. We do have Stevens Gutter Service contracted to take care of the gutters. The roof most affected by this is the front porch roof, which is at the minimum recommended angle for cedar shingle. And so we are asking to replace the roof from something that's not cedar shingle. We do know that the metal standing seam roof is historically consistent with Victorian houses built in the late 1880s. And finally, for long-term durability of the house, energy efficiency, and eventual recyclability of the metal standing seam roof, we would submit that this is the best roof from an environmental standpoint. So the previous pictures did show my best shot at showing some example roofs on the current house. I understand that they're not ideal, but there are sample photographs of metal standing seam on other houses, and finally on Victorian Queen Anne houses. Continuing on with the slides, there's some aerial photos of our current roof. And finally, we have been working with Hanson Roofing in this endeavor, and we have a few quotes on different options for the roof. One is the cedar shingle, one is standing metal seam, and one is asphalt shingle or architectural. And that is my presentation. Thank you for your time.
So I guess I'll start. So even though I think this standing seam is an interesting look, I just think for the landmark house that it is not appropriate to this house. Probably it had a wood shingle roof before they put the asphalt on, I assume.
Mm-hmm. I assume so, yes.
Yeah, so it's and I would think the same thing about the metal shingles, which what material are they? The shingles
the metal shingle, I believe, is aluminum. Yes.
Yeah, so it's just such a transformation of what this house is, and there's so much roof. And I really do understand that the longevity of a shingle roof is not that. I know that the cost, it's much less expensive than a metal standing seam roof, and that the metal standing seam is going to last longer, but it just, I just can't, it's since it's a landmark, it just doesn't seem like it's the right approach for this house. That's my opinion.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Do you know if there was ever a standing seam roof on the porch roof, on the really shallow porch roof?
Thank you for, that was where I was going as well. As you can see from our application, one possible alternative is to continue with the cedar roof, but for the front porch roof, have a metal standing seam. But I do not believe there was ever previously a standing metal seam roof on the front porch.
Is there documentation in the packet about what was there before the current roof?
No.
And unfortunately, I think the only thing that Carlos was able to find today, or Scott from the National Register, doesn't really. It talks more about the historical nature than the architectural. That was the one that was sent out earlier this afternoon or sometime this afternoon.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Hi, Carlos speaking. Yes, unfortunately, the documentation that might be available at the Civic Center is not accessible. So I was able to find a PDF of the nomination to the National Register where this property is listed as historically significant, not architecturally significant. And I will not be surprised that the statement of significance will follow the same vein of recognition of the building, although we had to see that and if we have it available. So I think that from some degree of understanding of how difficult it is to maintain a cedar roof that is surrounded by trees, there's the proposal of keeping the cedar on the main roof and have the metal on the shallow roof on the porch. I don't know if the commission will entertain that.
Or you just keep it as asphalt. People are gonna, it is asphalt.
I'm sorry, it's not asphalt right now.
Oh, what is it now? Oh, it's shingles.
Oh, it's shingles.
Or you keep it as what was under, it was asphalt underneath, it was probably wood shingles, then they put asphalt over it, and then whoever owners in the 90s put wood shingles back. And the asphalt's still under it?
I don't believe so.
Okay. So do you have that image where you have the shingles on the main roof and then the lower roof you have standing seam? Do you have that image?
No, I apologize. There's no example of that.
I think there was sort of one with a lower roof. It wasn't this house, but it was something else.
Correct, yes.
Do you have that? Yeah, right.
And there's a house around the corner that does have a different porch. It has a standing seam metal roof over the low porch, and then the wood shingles up top.
Yes, further up on Asbury, yes.
Mr. Young, if I may, in this photograph we are looking at, if you see the contrast between the metal and what I believe is asphalt shingle, not
the asphalt, yeah.
It seemed to me that if you have the higher quality asphalt shingle that tries to imitate the cedar shake, might be the best solution in terms of appearance and also longevity, because if you go with the architectural shingles, I believe they have a minimum 30-year warranty on them.
Right.
They're mostly 50,
so that,
Carlos, they're about 50 years now.
Okay, so they even improve the performance. So it appears to me that it might be a good solution to address your concern about the maintenance of the cedar versus metal, which in this case, this illustrates, that it might not be the optimal solution for your situation. I think that perhaps the commission and you can agree on something that will meet both the standards and your expectation of how often you will have to fix this roof.
Absolutely. I mean, I really do defer to the commission's expertise. We wanted to ask, and we also understood that one option may be indeed to do the entire roof in architectural shingle. Yes.
Okay, I think probably generally the commissioners would agree that an alternate proposal would be best, whether to do the entire roof in the asphalt shingles or to do the porch roof only in the metal. And if you do go with that proposal, I think to the extent there are other homes nearby that use that approach, it would be really helpful to see pictures of those houses. I mean, I think for example, this 205 slide is, considerably more modern house. And so I think I think that's often where we see the metal roofs, and it would be a lot more instructive to have an application that had, for example, houses in the neighborhood that use that approach.
I see.
Are we pretty much throwing out the metal shingles, the metal shakes?
I was, but I don't know.
I just want to make sure that when we're talking metal.
I think those will, yeah.
Okay.
I agree as well.
Okay. I want to be sure that, that's the case, because I'm not sure those really have much longer life than the architectural shingles. It's probably not worth it.
Gotcha.
And then Carlos, you may have said this, but can you repeat? We found the National Register listing, but we don't have access. Is this individually listed in Evanston, or is it just on a landmark? What kind of landmark is it?
Individually listed in Evanston as a landmark, but it's part of the stock of significant structures within the Rich Historic District that originally was only in the National Register, not a local district. So the nomination that I looked at was early in the process, right after the National Register Lakeshore Historic District, where we didn't have local historic districts. We only have local landmarks. So this landmark became a landmark after being part of the National Register Rich Historic District. And when the ordinance was amended in 1994, that's when the federal districts became local districts. Nothing changed. They just grandfather the boundaries of the National Register districts as local districts. And the building was already a landmark at the time.
But Carlos, when they went around and did the survey a few years ago and wrote up every single property, does that document include any comments about the architectural, or we don't know?
No, that inventory was for landmarks outside historic districts only.
Okay.
So there'd be no individual write-up about this building other than the one you sent us?
It's possible there is an actual statement of significance. What I'm saying is that in most cases, the statement of significance will reflect what the National Register nomination will have.
Because what was strange about this is it looked like it was continuing. There was sort of at the bottom of the page, it said architectural significance. Well, I guess that was the next house. Never mind.
Yeah. Here's the next house.
The next one.
There will be the top is the description, number 115.
Yeah, I didn't realize one of them was 1312.
So maybe, so I have a question. So maybe, so I think, I'm not sure, but if we're asking that we can see, if it was asphalt shingle with the metal roof, if there's other images in the, or other images in the neighborhood, but maybe also if the owner was interested in doing a rendering with that, because some of the renderings of the house, it's like you can't really tell what the material is. It just looks like some flat, untextured
Correct.
material. So that would be helpful to me, I think, to some of us.
Yeah, I think those images, Mr. Yoon, that you had from, I guess it's Menards, just look like a flat roof.
Yeah, it doesn't look like anything.
It looks like rolled roofing that's been painted brown or something.
Yeah.
Yes, I apologize. The amateur, as an amateur, I could not do any better.
Well, but you went to.
Well, I couldn't either.
So do we have any historic photos of your house?
Not at hand, because again, if I have anything, it would be in the office and we cannot access the office. The other possibility is if there's any photos at the History Center, but I don't know if they're open. I think, to be honest, we have a choice between quality cedar, not cedar, but asphalt architectural shingles that apparently have a warranty of 50 years, where you can have the whole house with the same material rather than a combination of the two materials.
Yeah, you could, and also it's much less expensive.
Yes,
I'm not sure about the cost, to be honest, because it depends, the manufacturer and the grade of the material. But
no, the asphalt. I mean, you will spend. I just if that is an issue. I mean, it's not really supposed to be an issue for preservation, but we know that a metal roof is far more expensive than an architectural asphalt shingle roof. So, but.
So I have a question. So although we're saying that typically, I thought we lean towards keeping, if there's a cedar shingle roof, we lean towards keeping that on a landmark property, but the commission is saying because this isn't landmark because of architectural significance, then we would,
I don't know,
veer away from that? Because
Nice question.
No, I thought the basis was the cedar roof was only 20 years old. There wasn't originally a cedar roof on the house, so it's not preserving.
Well, it's unlike,
or something that's obtained historic significance in the meantime.
Well, I guess I thought I understood that it was asphalt, and then they, I mean, probably was wood shingle whenever it was built, but then it was asphalt. Then they put asphalt on, and then did asphalt make an appearance? I thought that's what I understood. Is that right?
Yes, yes, Commissioner. The previous owner put the current cedar shingle roof on the house in 92 or 93. Prior to that, it was asphalt.
So I think that's, I don't know. I mean, I guess that's what I'm saying. So it wasn't like the original roof was there. It's probably covered up. And I just,
Somewhere along the way, they probably started, Julie, with a wood roof in 1896.
yeah, I have a hard time believing that.
It was probably wood, and then, it was in bad shape, and then they put asphalt over it.
They probably got tired of spending the money replacing the wood.
I mean, if commissioners want to say that he has to do a wood, that they want him to do a wood cedar roof, they can say that. There's so many houses.
There's a standard in the, I mean, we preserve original architectural components, and then we also preserve materials that have, or features that have obtained historical significance. So that if something was added, the house was built in 1870 and something was added in 1890, we could say that obtained historical significance. I don't think you'd say something installed in 1992 had historical significance. I mean, it wasn't the original, I mean, it wasn't a replacement of the original.
No, Mark, it was probably a shingle roof replaced by asphalt and then replaced by wood.
Right.
After. So you can say the 92 roof isn't original, but in fact, it was probably an attempt to make it more original than the asphalt roof.
Yeah.
Probably.
But we're all guessing.
And I guess I'm going to throw this out there, but my only concern about going back to a wood shingle for that porch roof is that if and when there was a wood shingle roof on the porch roof, then the trees were much smaller at that point. And so they weren't contributing as much to the moisture and the leaf debris and whatnot. So I'm hesitating a little just about the porch roof, just because I feel like it's in such a different, not such a different, but it's just in a different condition right now with the surrounding. I mean, these trees are huge right now.
Yeah, and also the slope on it is so shallow that it's probably wouldn't be a really good idea to put wood shingles on it anyway, and they wouldn't last very long. So,
Interesting.
so it's like asphalt or metal, I guess.
Yeah, I'd agree.
Okay, well, we've given the applicant some choices to come back with a modified application next time. So why don't we, unless the applicant has any questions, why don't we move on and give the applicant a chance to come
I
back
just,
next time?
one question. You know, in the interest of moving, because the roof really is on its last legs, would we be able to get approval for an asphalt, just straight asphalt and move forward with that?
Well, the irony is it was not one of your three alternatives.
Well, it was my last one, but I hope that list wasn't exhaustive.
Would we need to see
the color?
You know.
No, don't. We don't have anything to do with color.
All right, color.
With nothing for color, but like aren't there different grades of?
Yeah, well, you would do that architectural. I know that's the one that we were looking at. I guess you'd have to submit like at least what, if you were doing asphalt, what it was, because there's all the houses. There's so many houses in Evanston. You could take pictures with the architectural asphalt shingle, and then there's just the ones that are the three. I forgot the tab that are flat, but
right.
There's so many you could. So.
You're right, because I think the question becomes when people say architectural, I think some people see it as being faux wood shingles or wood shakes. But in fact, it's really the thickness. It's just so many thicknesses of asphalt. You know, it's a really thick shingle when you see them. That's why they look like the old wood shingles.
Yeah.
But I think you're right, Julie, that we don't know. Just
So,
saying architectural is almost as generic as saying three tab.
it's just what it's called. Yeah. So what should we do, Mark?
I mean, the other issue is we should give public notice of what you're doing. And looking at the application, I don't think, and truthfully, one of the reasons I'm thinking about this is we had a project, I think 2 or 3 months, maybe 3 months ago, where someone wanted to replace cedar with asphalt. And a few of the neighbors were very upset by it, feeling that the person, you know, they felt was downgrading their house and not living up to some kind of neighborhood responsibility. So I think given both of those concerns, I mean, but truthfully, by the time you're ready, and you know, it'll be next month anyway, and I mean, it's just a different project than you proposed, is my feeling. Does anybody?
Yeah, I understand. Just for my own clarity, moving forward, one possible new application would be for a metal roof with cedar for the rest of the roof, and the other one would be completely architectural asphalt.
Okay, well, you can think about it. And again, if you want to, I mean, you should decide what you want to present.
Or it could be asphalt with the metal roof on the lower level view, you know, the lower piece, I guess, if you present.
When you said metal,
Or it could be cedar with the lower.
Correct.
cedar was one of
He said that. Oh, he said
Okay.
that.
You already had that.
Yeah.
I mean,
Okay.
wasn't cedar with the lower part metal one of the
That
choices?
was one of his three. That's what I'm saying.
Right.
I'm not clear now either.
It doesn't sound like that's likely what you're going with, does it?
Well, I honestly, you know, if you guys told me it would be okay to put metal on the porch and cedar everywhere else, I would be, yeah, I could move forward with that.
Well, is that what you want to do?
No, I'm sorry, Commissioner. I mean, my number one choice would be standing metal seam, but I understand there are other considerations involved in interest of keeping everything balanced while preserving that porch roof. I mean, yeah, I would definitely feel comfortable moving forward with a metal porch and
Are you
cedar
saying
walls.
standing metal seam for both the main roof and the porch?
No, sir.
Okay.
So he was saying if we said, go ahead and do cedar on the main roof and standing metal seam on the porch, he would be okay with that.
Well, that was one of his choices to begin with.
Yeah.
So then, a cedar, but we're not talking about a shake, we're talking about a shingle.
They were never shaped.
And I'm just saying, just because, not everyone, sometimes, the nomenclature.
So a replacement kind of in kind of cedar shingles on the main roof, but an alteration of the porch roof from the current cedar shingle to standing seam metal.
Or I come back with yes. I don't want to put you on the spot right now.
Well, no, I mean, you have applied for, your alternative 3, and it sounds likely if you want us to vote on approve that, and that's just it, and we're done. It sounds like we probably will. There's a good chance we'll approve that. But if you don't know that's what you want to do, then it sounds pretty.
The first option was a metal standing roof. The second alternative I proposed a metal standing roof on the porch, and the rest of the roof with architectural asphalt. So that would also be option the second preference.
Asphalt was never one of your choices at all. If I'm reading the application correctly.
I apologize. It might not have been clear, but the first option is metal standing roof, and I apologize. Alternative number 1 is the porch roof with metal standing seam roof. The rest of the roof with architectural or metal tile resembling cedar shingle.
Okay.
So you meant architectural asphalt? Is that what you meant?
And I apologize. I did not put asphalt. Yes, but that's yes.
Sounds like if that's what you want to do, it wasn't proposed this time. You should just come back next time and propose.
Yeah.
And then you can show us what the asphalt shingles are you'll install, and we'll get it through. So let's just do it. Okay. Could I hear a motion to continue?
I move that we continue 1312 Church Street to the meeting of June 9th, 2020.
Second? Julie, second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstention? Okay, thank you. So come back and just make sure that you've got some kind of pictures of samples, and we'll get it through next time.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Carlos, do you want to go ahead with the?
Sure. So thank you. The next item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes of March 10th. You received 2 versions, actually 3 versions. The first one was the first draft. Second version was the second draft with comments from Elliot. And the last version was a comment in response to a comment from Elliot that indicated that on draft 2, there was no, on the first page, who attended the meeting and who was absent. So that's the only thing I added this afternoon to make sure that everybody was counted for at the meeting. So
I'm fine with that. Carlos, thank you. Yeah. I mean, I just noticed it last night when I was reading it.
Ironically, I finished these minutes probably fairly quick, so I usually tend to do, and then I guess I just use the agenda as the guide to continue with the minutes, and I forgot to put the attendance. Anyway, that's where we stand with that minutes.
I move that we accept the minutes as amended and corrected.
Okay, second. Julie, all in favor? Please say aye. Any opposed? Okay, thank
I
you.
think I have to abstain. I wasn't at the last meeting.
Yes, we now know that.
I didn't remember.
You've been found out.
Okay, noted.
Julian Aleka, do you want to present the
Well,
update?
yeah, I mean, there's no update because we just stopped. So basically, I think Carlos just sent sent what the draft was, which we were going to, I think, review, right, Carlos, when we were at our retreat, which didn't happen. So I just, I don't know what the process is now because I know it had to go through, right, Carlos, it has to go through another committee. So what I'm looking to you, Carlos, to tell us, like, what would the process be given that it was completely derailed?
Unfortunately, no one expected the stay-at-home rule.
Right, right.
But so the idea, like you said, was to have the draft ready for the three bodies that were involved with the drafting, the Energy and Sustainability Committee and Board, and the Commission. You and Aleka drafted the actual document. You submitted that to the group, and they were very enthusiastic to receive it. And then the next step was to get it to the Commission for the read, and then was also going to the other two entities. And then the idea was to get all of them approve a draft so that can be adopted by the Commission at a later date. So I have contacted Kumar, who is the person who is putting together the meetings. And unfortunately, he told me that he's been given some assignments regarding to COVID, where he doesn't have the time to dedicate for this effort. So I guess I'm going to be the person who will continue gathering the information or sending this to the other two bodies. My goal would be to have you review this and maybe give me your feedback as a commission.
Okay.
And then in the meantime, I will send this through Kumar to the other two bodies and get their blessing. But we heard very positive feedback from the other members of the committee about the guidelines. So that's where we stand. And then we can talk a little bit more about the retreat, but my goal would be that we finish this as soon as possible.
Okay, so then everyone in the commission, so you, the draft 4, which was sent around, it has some comments which came out of the committee, which are still here.
Yes,
so
I didn't want
on it,
any.
right? So so can we like can we have everyone on the commission, like, since unless we have some other Zoom something retreat, should everyone be reviewing this and then get back to Mark and Carlos, or whatever, with comments? So it's really important that this move through, because we're already seeing projects. I think we're already seeing projects with solar panels, and we've got a document that is very useful that we really can't use yet. So should we say, like, give everyone a date to, it's not that long. I mean, you can read it tomorrow, unless you have better things to do.
Do you guys have any specific comments about some of the things that, or are you fine with everything here, or are there some specific things that you're not okay with?
I think Aleka and I were, when we came out of the meeting, we all, I think we were, the comments that we all agreed on those comments, didn't we, Aleka?
Yeah, I think the final product of the last meeting of the subcommittee
was this,
and everybody was everybody on the subcommittee
Right.
was ready to roll with this, but we had to get approval of all our various commissions
Right.
to see if it was, to make it.
So you guys could comment on the comments on this and comment on the document.
Yeah, who did some of those strikeouts? Like, I think on the second page or something, there was something about when needed, the preservation coordinator or commission.
That came out directly out of the committee. We all were need.
So if I may, draft 4 reflects the effort that the committee or subcommittee put together at the last meeting.
Right.
When they all agree with those comments that you see. So it was a group effort and everybody concurred with those comments. So the next phase would be to send it out to the commission for your review. So basically what I can do is I can incorporate those comments into a document so it will be cleaner.
Yeah.
And you will see the actual version of that draft 4 without the red lining or anything like that.
That's what I was going to say,
If you
is we
prefer
should
to do
probably
that,
accept the comments so
that'd be
that
fine.
people.
My thought was that you should at least be able to see the draw, or with the comments that were added.
Well, I think actually if the committee, if the committee as a whole made those final changes, we should probably accept the changes so that we're seeing the actual product with that, everybody on the committee, not just Julie and I, decided on, so that.
Yeah, no, you should use it. It's just that like that the comment, there's something about I'd like to add something and it wasn't really put into language. Some of the other stuff that was, yeah, Carlos, I would just take it and clean it up. And then if there's something that still needs to be separated as a comment, you just leave that, like that A1, which isn't really clear. And then we could send it back. What?
That, yeah, the comment, the admin, okay, yeah.
See what I mean? Yeah. So we could, if it seems like you need to just leave that comment, but then you could clean up the other stuff and then send it back to the commission.
Okay. Well, I will ask, Aleka and Julie, can you take a look one more time?
Sure.
Make sure that I'm doing the right thing, because that's your document. So I think that.
Okay. Well, Aleka, okay, I don't even remember. Aleka, let's just look at it and then we'll get back to Carlos.
Yeah.
Okay? Okay.
Okay, and then if Carlos, you could circulate to the commissioners and just, say like, if you have any comments, get them to me within a week. And
right.
I mean, it's a really good job. And I think on the whole, we're all likely to be pretty supportive of it.
Right.
And,
I mean, I have to say that the 2 submissions, the only things, they hadn't seen this, but the only thing that was sort of, well, the one image of it was the house with the panels on them as opposed to just the house with arrows showing where the panels were going to be. But otherwise, they met the other criteria of what we had listed. So it seems like, people are on, and I hadn't seen that submission, so that was interesting that they were aligned.
Yeah, they were.
It was kind of a nice test of like everything we'd gone through on the committee, and it was like, okay, so how would our guidelines have stood up to what was proposed? And I think it was in line.
And then Elliot, just in commenting on, when you said, well, yes, that project on Hinman, yes, it is true that ended up going back to the council and they overrode, our decision. And I think that kind of was the stimulus for the whole meeting that started with these 3 groups. And so, and then these 3 groups ended up with, Leka and I did this, and then we all met and we discussed this, 3 times, or it evolved. And so I think that Hinman project, there's obviously projects that may always move ahead to city council if the client so desires. But I think that, you know, that this was really thought through with these three groups. So I think, I guess what I'm saying is, I know you were saying like, well, this might happen again, so why do we have anything? And I don't think that's really an, you know.
That isn't what I meant. What I think the concern is that I remember asking the people on Hinman, if you move a couple of them over, you know, or even drop one or two, which was really the objection, then all it would have done was affected, you know, that instead of getting, let's say, make up a number, 100% of the electricity, they were going to get 80%, but they were also going to save maybe 20% of their money. And they obviously went for everything and were unwilling to even consider.
Right, right.
This
Yeah,
guy
I mean,
today was willing to consider alternatives, but on the other hand, he wasn't the owner. So we don't, you know, he wasn't speaking as the representative of the owner.
Yeah, so I guess we'll see.
Every dollar of electricity out of it.
Right, but I mean, the commission, you know, has, I mean, these were drafted, these guidelines, because there's something that, you know, we're upholding, and there's some standards, and so there's some back and forth, and, you know, that's how it is.
I think, I mean, there will always be submissions that, like, you know, with individuals who don't want to compromise and want to take it to the council, and that's everybody's right. I was initially surprised, or pleasantly surprised, that members from all the different commissions were on board and kind of supportive of what our decision was, that went to, you know, people from the other commissions, not just our commission, were also supportive of how the Preservation Commission ruled on that. So
Yeah.
I think that we have our standards, and it's always everybody's right to elevate it if they want. That's fine.
I mean, Elliot, it should be a lot more, you know, have a lot more political viability if there are standards that have been adopted, including by the sustainability folks.
I agree with you.
So, I mean, it's worth doing, even if, you know, as Aleka said, it doesn't mean the city council is always going to uphold us.
I just got booted.
We can hear you.
I know, I got dumped.
Where?
I'm trying to get back in.
You're back. We can see you.
We can see you and hear you.
I see nothing.
Then there's something wrong at your end.
I got it.
Okay.
There she is.
I just know I got booted into some chat room.
I want to know where Beth got that background.
Is Scott still with us? I'm not sure.
Okay, let's talk about just briefly the pitch project. As you know, Aleka and I have been part of the committee, working particularly with Dino Robinson to write a Evanston proclamation to create like an African American cultural district.
Or resolution.
And,
proclamation or resolution.
I don't know. We're actually pretty far along on it. And we had a draft, and then the last few days, I think, you know, Aleka and Dino gave comments, and I know I have to revise it. And we are, you know, I would think in the next few weeks going to complete it and try to move ahead with the proclamation with City Council. So I don't, if Aleka or Carlos, there's anything else we should add to that?
Yeah, we are meeting again on the 21st of June at 10 a.m. with the revised document. So once you're done, you know, just send it over and I will share that with the rest of the group.
So that's the 21st of May, right?
Right. We had given ourselves 2 weeks to get back to the document.
Yeah, so it's moving fast. I think that we'll probably, it sounds like, be finalized at our next meeting with the tweaks.
Could you send out an invite for the meeting, Carlos? I don't have it on.
Yes, I'll do that.
Thank you.
Sure.
Did you want to say something about Preservation Month?
Sure. So
It's
I don't
nearly
know if
over.
we have received 3 nominations so far for the awards, and the people I talked to, they feel that we should wait until they're able to well, different reasons, but primarily because I don't see the motivation currently because of the situation we're in. But I have received 3 nominations, one for a new house at 1322 Lake, and 2 for sensitive addition and proper rehab at 115 Dempster and 1620 Judson. And I'm not sure if this occurred, but Scott sent a proclamation to the mayor to be read last night. I don't know if he did. Maybe if Scott's with us can give us an update on that. But there was a proclamation that we prepared. If it was not done yesterday, it would be done in the next meeting in City Council.
So we're just gonna like wait till COVID's over to give people awards for?
I think the other issue is, can they submit online, virtually? I mean, there's a lot of options, I think. Ideally would be to be able to visit the sites and, see it in person. That's what we've done, that's tradition. But things are changing so rapidly. The fact is we have to have nominations. So if we don't have them, we're gonna be limited to. So I have at least one project that I think should be nominated. I'm doing some site visits of previous projects that the commission approved to make sure that they're doing the job.
I have some that could be nominated. Should I just give them to you? The ones, I remember them coming before us.
Yes, that was the idea.
Okay, well, I guess, I've got the COVID mind.
Right, so we can nominate more. And the important thing in my mind is to have some type of event, whether it's virtually or in person, for the awards.
It's gonna be virtual, right?
I think Northwestern has, again, a number of projects that they're interested, they're just holding, they decided to hold those nominations. I know that because I talked to Andrew McGonigal, who is interested in submitting, but he said, I think we're gonna wait until the COVID is resolved in some way or another. But anyway, if you have any suggestions.
Okay, got it.
Let me know. And then the retreat is another thing that we haven't been able to do. And again, it's what do we do now? Do we have a retreat, a virtual retreat?
It depends on what we.
Yeah, I was gonna say the windows. Do you have all the windows there, Elliot?
I have windows. Well, I don't know. We could do. It depends. I mean, here's the thing. So COVID's like, not gonna go away. So it's like. It seems like if we want to do a retreat and there's stuff we want to address, which I think there is, then why wouldn't we just do a virtual one, a Zoom one where we can, maybe we're not talking about, windows, because it's kind of hard to do that, but there's other issues that we had on the agenda. So why couldn't we just set something up and not like next week, but still have something. Otherwise, we're going to be waiting a year. I'm just being realistic. Like, this disease is not going away.
I like to hear that because, again, I'm waiting for guidance to how to proceed. Obviously, I can give you some ideas as well, but I prefer in these circumstances to know your availability and the idea was to have real samples of windows and all of that could be substituted with good images of windows that, but we cannot touch them or anything like that. I don't know if it's necessary, but I think we should have the retreat virtually if we cannot do it in person.
Well, I agree that we should have it. The question is like, I don't know about this window thing, but.
We have a meeting next month, and then how long it would be realistic to think we can prepare something virtually, like everybody can present. Like originally, we had leaders for the retreat, and each leader was supposed to have some material can the leaders gather that material and put it in a virtual presentation?
Well, if we wanted to, okay, so we know that the sustainability part was part of the retreat, but you know, the guidelines, but I don't want to wait like, you know, 3 months to do that. I want to push that through sooner. I want everybody, like when Aleka will review it this week, I think, because we've already done it, and then we can send it to Carlos. That seems like that should be on a different timeline so that we can move that.
That's fine. I thought that would be the case anyway.
Yeah, okay. But why don't we set up a Zoom retreat?
Has anybody had ideas when they'd like to do that? Considering time to get together in materials, put together the presentation, and then coordinate the meeting.
Well, do we have to put a presentation? I can't do a presentation with Windows. I just thought we could present, I mean, in terms of having a dialogue about meeting, I think one of the aspects was how we overlap with the city. I mean, that's just like an open dialogue. So why can't we just have that? Why is it a presentation?
Well, I'm just going back to what was originally intended.
I know. Well, the window thing was, we were looking at real windows. It's kind of, you know.
Well, okay. So if we are not sure Windows is an option, what else can we agree to discuss at that retreat? So I'd like to hear ideas from the commission members, what kind of issues they like to talk about.
Well, we had a whole outline.
We
that
did.
I think we'd agreed on, and I mean, we could recirculate it.
Yeah, let's do that.
And I mean, I think even the Windows was the only one that would have been nice to have physical samples, but I mean, I think you could do it largely through pictures. I mean, it's not going to be as good, but
I have to do that on Zoom. I'll just load them. I don't know.
Elliot was going to do that one. You weren't going to do it.
I know, but Elliot, you can load them on Zoom. I have trouble enough with clients like getting pictures up.
She was collecting all these samples, but I refused to come to her office now.
Yeah.
I can. All right. I don't know. Let's just figure out when we're going to set it up. And then we had an agenda, and Elliot and I don't know, figure out something with the window thing, at least discussing it. And then, but we had other aspects. I wasn't even doing that, Elliot was, but there was like overlapping with the city, you know, our profile within, you know, how we work better in that capacity. That was on the agenda.
Mark put together a outline, and that was adopted. Right. So we could just get back to it and determine when we want to do the retreat.
Yeah, I think we already have the agenda. So we'll circulate a doodle poll for a week and a half, 2 weeks out with some potential dates and get that started.
Would you think
everyone seems so excited?
Well, the summer doesn't seem like an awesome time to do it, really.
Well, where's anybody going?
Yeah, it's like you could do the Zoom from, you know, your summer house.
You can.
I mean, it's like where no one's going on a, well, I don't know that. Maybe someone's flying somewhere. I don't know.
We're going to, but it isn't going to happen.
I think we should do exactly what Scott's saying. We should have a doodle poll, and let's like do it, because otherwise there goes another lost retreat.
And are we talking another Saturday of some sort, at least to throw in as an option?
We'll circulate a few different options.
Yeah.
So you may Friday morning, Friday afternoon, Saturday.
Yeah, it seems a little different now, maybe.
I'm not sure I can remember which day is Saturday anymore.
I know that's right. No, I am going into the office because it gives me somewhere to go. But anyway, okay, great. That's good. Thanks, Scott.
All righty. Any other business? We have a motion to adjourn.
I move that we adjourn.
Second, Beth. All in favor? Aye, we're adjourned.
You don't have to drive home, though. That's the beauty. You can just like jump into bed.
Everybody stay healthy.